Hey guys, this is Chris here. I want to go over how to program the or set up the OMP2 EVO on a DX6 radio. It'll work for any DX6. The new NX6 and other radios will be a little different, but it's practically the same thing. So we're going to turn it on. Okay, now to get to a new model, you can either go down to System Setup, tell it yes, and it brings up this screen. However, the good thing about a Spektrum radio is that if you push the clear button and the back button at the same time, it brings up that same menu. Now, I've already got it set up here, but I'm going to set up a new helicopter. So we're going to say add a new one. Going to name it just for now we'll just name it Z. And we want the type to be a helicopter. Yes. Swash type. Now, these swash types are mainly for scale, stuff like that. On flybar days, we'd use servo 120, 135, something like that. But because the flybarless is doing the entire swash, now the default is normal, so normal's good. That's saying it's just one servo, even though we know there are 4 in the helicopter. But the flybarless unit sees 4. So we're going to say next, because it's on normal. Collective type, normal. And then we go down to F mode. Now, F mode by default is switch 2, but if we push the button and see it's blinking, and we use this button, so watch if I tried another switch. See, it changes the switch. Now it's saying G, so I'm going to put it back to B by just flipping the switch. Flipping the switch here. So now it's on switch B. Now go down to hold switch and it's on inhibit. We want it to be, well, at least most people use this back button on this side. So I flip that, now it's on H. Get it to quit flashing. So here's going to tell us our modes. So we can go through, we're in normal mode. Now we're in idle 1 and idle 2. If you see the dot above it, you can tell where it's at. So we're in normal. Now if I flip the hold switch, see it moves to hold. And the square means it's off. And the black with the line in it means it's on. So hold is off. We're in normal mode. Now we're in hold mode. So that's set up. Then spoken flight modes, you can play with that and do whatever you want with them. I'm not going to take the time to go through that. So then go down. It's all in order. So then we're going to go down to channel assign. See, we have gear is gear. Go to next. Go down to gear. Click the button and now it's flashing. We want it on the same B switch that our flight modes are on. Now it's on B. Now if I go down to model utilities, well, no, sorry, it's been a while since I've used the Spektrum radio. Let's see, frame rate, we want DSMX, and we want 11 milliseconds. And we want DSMX, 11 DSMX. And then we're going to go back to the main screen. Now, if you see, when we're on the main screen, if you just turn the wheel, it'll bring up the monitor. So if you look, my gear channel is on 100. And as I go through my flight modes, idle up, as I go to idle 1, you see it says flight mode 1, but it also shows the gear switch is now at 0. And now it's at negative 100. 100 is a positive number. That means, doggone it. So the 100, if it's at a positive 100, that means that is stabilization mode, because stabilization is set on the gear channel. So that means 0 and negative 100 mean that switch is not doing anything to the gear channel now, so it's turned off. It's only when it's a positive number that it's actually using it. In this case, the stabilization mode. So normal mode is stabilization, idle 1 is just a regular flight mode, and idle 2 is a regular flight mode. Now we're going to go down to the throttle curve. Okay, the M2 has a governor in it, so the ESC automatically tries to figure out how to keep, so when it's under load, it tries to keep the RPMs the same. So what we want to do is, again, we have normal mode. If you see the dot on the bottom, now it's stunt 1, stunt 2, and the dot's under the hold. So we're going to go to normal, and we're going to say 0 when the stick is all the way down, which is negative collective. We're going to say 0. So when you first turn on the helicopter, nothing's going to happen. Then we're going to put all these, I would start at 60 or 65. And then all these have to be the same. Okay, so that's normal. So now, when there's no throttle, if you watch, there's a line right here, if you can see it. And as I move the stick, you see that line move. So right here, you see I'm finally getting power, and it's at number 2. See, if you look at the box. If I'm all the way down here, there's no power, and it's at the top box is 0. So all the way through here, as you see it moving, it's the same RPM. Then we're going to flip to, we're going to move it over to, oops. So then click it, move it over to 1, and then set all these to, I would say 70. I'm not sure what I have mine set on. I'll have to go in and look, and I'll do another video on my actual settings. But for a first-time setup, this will be good. So now you have 10% more power than you had in normal mode. The difference is, again, you're not in stability mode. And so if you are hovering and you flip it from normal mode to stunt 1, you're going to hear the motor increase a little bit because your RPMs are going to go up from 60% to 70%. And then on idle 2, we're going to say 80%. Okay, so all that's set. Now, we want to go from there, we want to check hold mode. In hold mode, there's no throttle at all the way down 0. So when you flip that switch, the engine stops. It's kind of like an engine kill. And as you get into bigger helicopters, or if you're familiar with them, they auto-rotate. I haven't tried to auto-rotate this. I don't even know that you can, but I've heard that people have. So it kills the engine, and then you can instantly get power back by flipping the hold off. Now, so then we go from throttle curve down to pitch curve. Pitch curve, 0, 25, 50, 75, 100 is a linear curve. So as you go down, again, if you look at the little mark, that's full negative pitch. So whatever you have, say that you have 12 degrees negative and 12 degrees positive, it would go 12 to 0, or negative 12 to 0 to positive 12. So in 1 and 2 and hold mode, you just want 0, 25, 50, 75, 100. So you have full range. You have the same amount of negative if you're below half stick and the same amount of positive if you're above half stick. Now, just like an airplane, if you're familiar with planes, they may say prop that's 6 pitch. That means it's 6 degrees positive pitch, and that's how hard it's going to pull. So at mid stick, if you turn on your radio and you have throttle hold on and you put the stick in the middle at 0, when you flip the stick off, it's going to spool up, but it's not going to go anywhere because it's going to actually take probably 3-4 degrees pitch before it's going to leave the ground. So in normal mode though, what I usually tell people, I just leave it as the same thing, a linear. But a lot of people, if you're going to use stabilization mode and you're just learning to fly, a lot of people get nervous and they'll bring the stick down. They'll bring the collective stick all the way down. Well, that's negative 12 degrees pitch, so it's going to come down real fast and slam into the ground. So what I would do is go to, say, 40. And then 45, because you want it to increase. You don't want it to be the same, or the stick will be dead all the way, from pretty much the bottom to mid stick. So now in normal mode, even all the way down on the collective, you still got 45%. So you've got 40 or 40, so you've still got another 40% negative you could add. So you only have probably 2-3 degrees of negative pitch. So why not just leave it at 50, right? 0 pitch. Well, if you have 0 pitch and you want to come down, it's going to come down very slow with no negative pitch at all. Very, very slow. It's not, it's because, again, it's like a fan. Even though there's no pitch in it, it's still, there's nothing helping it come down. So you want a little bit of negative pitch to help it come down. So now that you have that, so these are all, 1 and 2 are both linear, 0, 25, 50, 75, 100. So say you're in normal mode and you're sitting on the bench and you've got throttle hold on because you don't want it to spool up and you're in normal mode. Well, when you flip it into idle 1, the swash plate is going to lower and the blades are going to tilt with more negative because below half stick, you're at 40 and 45 compared to 0 and 25. Now, that doesn't really matter, though, because in the air, you're going to be above half stick. Otherwise, you're not hovering. So everything will be the same. So don't worry about what it looks like sitting on your bench. Because, again, even if you're in, you can, you could put it in idle 1 if you don't want to use the safety mode or whatever it is. You can just put it in idle 1 and flip off throttle hold, and it'll instantly spool up, but it'll be at negative 12 degrees pitch when the stick's down. So I usually put it at half stick, flip the throttle hold off no matter what mode I'm in. That way they're all the same, and it's going to spool up with no pitch. It's not going to take off, but it's not going to be pushing the helicopter down on the skids toward the ground. Because if you flip idle 1 up sitting on the ground and your collective stick's all the way down, that's negative 12 or whatever your pitch is. So it's pushing the helicopter down into the ground. Hope this makes sense, guys. A little rushed today, and I'm trying to go through this quick, and that's it. Other than that, nothing else needs to be done except for timer. You can set up your timer. I've got it to count down 5 minutes. Depends on your flying style. If you are flying 3D, I'd put it at, with the EVO, 4 minutes. With the regular M2, 3.5. If you're just going to be flying around doing circuits and hovering, 5's fine. I think it'll probably get 6, but 5's good. And tell it to count down. And I have it when the throttle, when you give it throttle collective, it starts the countdown. And I have one time turned off because I want it to stop every time I hit the hold button, so it's not sitting there counting down on the bench. Now you can also set up, say, your trainer switch or anything to clear that timer out and reset it, so you don't have to turn your radio off when you switch batteries to go back in the air. You can just clear it out, and so you can set that up however you want. And that's pretty much it. Again, when you're setting up stabilization mode and you're on the main screen, just roll the wheel and it'll go to monitor. On the gear channel, in normal mode, if it's at 100, that's stabilization mode. If you're in normal mode and it's at negative 100, that's not stabilization mode. So in that case, you would need to go back into channel assign, and then under gear, so go to next, and let's see. Well, I said that wrong. We want to go to servo setup.
Warning, stunt 2. Normal mode.
Under servo setup, we want to go to the gear channel. And where it says travel, then there's sub trim, go to reverse, and you would just switch it. So now I switched it, and when we go back to the main menu, you'll see that now when I'm in normal mode, I'm at minus 100. So I am not in stabilization mode. I'm in stabilization mode in stunt 2 now. And other than that, if the helicopter's too touchy in the air or whatever, go to DR and Expo. Dual rates, I would leave at 100 and just take your Expo. And the higher the number, you'll see the center of this. If you look at this now, it's flatter in the middle. That means you can move the stick farther out before it really gets to its normal mode. So you can make more mistakes in the center of the stick. Now, if you make it as high as I did there, 61, it'll almost be dead. But I would start at probably 30 or something. But whatever you make the aileron, you have to make the elevator the same thing. Just remember that. Elevator and aileron need to be the same expo. You can make the rudder a different expo, but the elevator and aileron need to be the same. Hope this helps you out, guys. Thanks for watching.